I stood in front of the mirror in the elevator, adjusting the collar of my blazer and smoothing a few stray strands of hair at my temple. The numbers on the control panel ticked upward, floor by floor, 19, 20, 21, each motion bringing me closer to the office where I had spent 7 years building my career. Today wasn't like any other day. Today was the day I officially became senior marketing director at the leading media company in San Francisco, a position I had poured my heart into earning, not for the fame, but because I knew I deserved it. When the elevator doors opened, a round of applause burst out. My colleagues stood waiting with beaming smiles and bright eyes. "Congratulations to our new director!" voices cheered from all directions. I smiled, feeling my heart pounding in my chest. 7 years ago, I was just a 25-year-old fresh out of college, full of ambition but with no connections in the industry. Now, at 32, I had everything I once dreamed of: a solid career, a luxury apartment overlooking the Golden Gate Bridge, and a marriage I once believed was perfect. I met Noah in this very building. He worked as a lawyer on the 16th floor and I was just a marketing assistant on the 22nd. Our first meeting was a bit chaotic. He spilled his coffee on my documents at the shared pantry. His embarrassed face is still etched in my mind, especially as he kept apologizing and insisted on buying me a new coffee. One coffee turned into lunch, then lunches turned into late-night conversations over glasses of wine. After just a year of dating, we got married, in a small but warm ceremony on the beach in Carmel. Noah had always been the one standing behind me, pushing me forward whenever I doubted myself. He had the calmness of a seasoned attorney and a gentle smile that always made me feel at ease. This morning he still kissed me goodbye like always, the faint scent of his cologne lingering on my shoulder. His congratulatory text arrived just as I was receiving flowers from the CEO. "Proud of you, let's celebrate tonight." I smiled, feeling a lightness in my chest. My life, at least in that moment, felt perfect. Everything seemed to be in sync until Ava, my assistant, walked into the office with a stack of documents in hand. "The proposal for next quarter's campaign is ready," she said, then lowered her voice, her eyes glinting with something unusual. "Oh, have you met the new legal consultant yet? Her name is Claire Turner, just transferred from the New York office." I shook my head slightly. Lately, I'd been too busy to keep up with hallway gossip. "People say she's really sharp, and..." Ava paused as if debating whether to continue. "Also very beautiful." I just gave a faint smile, trying to hide the flicker of unease. I had no reason to worry about a new colleague, especially not on the day I was supposed to be celebrating my success. And yet, a vague feeling stirred inside me. Maybe it was the glint in Ava's eyes, or the way she emphasized very beautiful. Or maybe it was simply that the peace I'd felt for so long had just trembled, ever so slightly. I walked into my office after the board meeting, the soft autumn sunlight streaming through the large windows and illuminating the framed promotion certificate newly mounted on the wall. A part of me wanted to pause and soak in the feeling of victory. But the other part felt strangely empty. I reassured myself that it was just the pressure of work. I'd been staying up late in back-to-back meetings and hadn't yet taken time to truly celebrate my achievement. Noah always said I was a fire that never goes out. He used to understand my ambition so well, even encouraged me to aim higher. "Emma, you don't have to shrink so others can shine. You're the one who lights up the whole room," he once said the night I nearly turned down a team lead promotion because I felt underqualified. We used to be a team. When I had early morning presentations, he'd wake up to make coffee and rehearse with me. When he had to prepare legal briefs overnight, I'd sit by his side doing nothing but slicing fruit and keeping quiet. Yet he said my presence kept him calm. We used to cook dinner together, then debate over who was the best character in Suits while eating. Sunday mornings we'd jog hand in hand around Mission Dolores Lake like a couple still in the honeymoon phase. My marriage from the outside looked like the perfect balance of love and career, and I believed that too, until the small things started to shift. At first it was the lukewarm compliments. When I got nominated for Best Campaign of the Quarter, Noah simply said, "Nice, you're good at this," and went back to his phone. Not unsupportive, just missing the warmth he used to show. Then came the last-minute canceled dinners. "I have to work late. The Chicago client needs updated documents," he'd text. I was used to his unpredictable schedule. Commercial contract lawyers never had fixed hours. But lately, it happened more often than usual. And then there was this. his phone always face down on the table. I know it sounds petty, but Noah was never the secretive type. He used to hand me his phone while driving so I could reply to texts. Now he kept it with him like it was a part of his body. I kept telling myself it was just stress from a new project, maybe I was being too sensitive, but every time he avoided my gaze when answering a question or when I walked into the kitchen and saw him quickly switching tabs on his laptop, that strange feeling in my chest returned. That Friday night, we had dinner at Le Périgord, the place filled with our memories. I picked it to celebrate my promotion. Noah showed up nearly 40 minutes late. He walked in looking tired, his tie loosened, shirt wrinkled. I smiled, trying not to mind. "Did you order yet?" he asked, checking his phone quickly before placing it face down. "No, I wanted to wait for you." We ordered, and the conversation, once the highlight of my day, now felt scattered and half-hearted. I talked about the upcoming campaign, he replied with polite responses. When I asked about his new project, he just shrugged. "Tough. The new partner's a bit demanding." "Is Claire working with you?" I asked, trying to keep my tone casual. He froze for a second. "Yeah, but she's just handling documents. Why?" "Ava mentioned her, she stands out, everyone's talking about her." Noah nodded, gave a faint smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Yeah, Claire's smart, but a bit loud." I took a sip of wine, saying nothing more, not because I believed him, but because I was testing how bad he was at lying. The answer was, very bad. I didn't know exactly what was going on, but I knew this feeling wasn't wrong. And as the waiter placed the dessert on the table, I looked at Noah, the man who used to be my whole world, and my heart whispered, "It's time to open your eyes." Monday morning, I arrived at the office earlier than usual. I had barely slept the night before. Despite the fatigue, I came in an hour early, just to sit in my car in the parking lot, watching people walk in one by one. I didn't know exactly what I was looking for, just a feeling that pushed me from deep within. At exactly 7:43 a.m., a white Audi pulled into a spot 3 spaces away. A woman stepped out with a strangely confident presence, her lightly curled brown hair, fitted pencil skirt accentuating her tall, slim figure, and high heels clicking crisply against the concrete. I had never seen her before, yet somehow I knew instantly. This was Claire Turner. She walked into the lobby where Noah usually stopped to grab coffee before heading upstairs. I didn't see him anywhere, but 10 minutes later I saw them walking together in the hallway on the 18th floor near the legal department. Claire was beaming, saying something that made Noah laugh. That kind of laugh I hadn't seen on his face in a long time. I quietly turned away, but my chest tightened. That afternoon, the company held a small celebration for the marketing team's overachievement this quarter. I wasn't in the mood but couldn't decline as the newly promoted director. The lounge was simply decorated, white and blue balloons and a banner stretched across the wall. "Congratulations, marketing team, a stellar Q4. Colleagues stood around with champagne glasses chatting about work. I had just finished talking to the COO when I saw Noah walk in, Claire right behind him. She was wearing a sleeveless red dress, far bolder than typical office attire. I tried to keep my smile as they approached. "Congratulations," Noah said, handing me a glass of champagne. "I'm proud of you." "Thank you," I replied, my eyes glancing at Claire's polite smile. "Claire Turner," she said, extending her hand. "I've heard so many wonderful things about you." I shook her hand lightly, hopefully all of them are true. Claire smiled, voice as sweet as honey. "Of course. Noah can't stop talking about you. He says you're the smartest and most resilient woman he's ever known." A simple sentence, yet laced with subtle sarcasm and a quiet claim. I didn't react, just sipped my drink and turned to another colleague. But from that moment on, I watched. I watched every small gesture between them. The way Claire lightly touched Noah's arm when she spoke. The way he leaned toward her, eyes fixed on hers. With each passing moment, the doubt inside me grew into something undeniable. That night I sat alone in the kitchen, bathed in warm yellow light, though my heart felt frozen. Noah texted that he had a late meeting, told me not to wait. I grabbed my laptop, opened the internal email system and searched for Claire Turner's name. Under new hires, she was listed as a senior legal advisor, transferred from the Chicago office, directly supporting the strategic contracts team. Nothing wrong, not a single odd word, and yet somehow, that was the scariest part. Everything looked by the book. I kept scrolling until I found her photo from the staff introduction. That smile, those eyes, that confidence. I knew her type. And I knew exactly what could happen when someone like her appeared just as a marriage began to quietly crack. I closed the laptop and sat in silence. The ticking of the wall clock echoed in the quiet kitchen. Then I stood up, grabbed my phone and texted Ava. Send me the full meeting schedule for the legal department over the past 3 weeks, including sessions Noah attended. A minute later, Ava replied, Do you need me to list a reason for HR? I stared at the screen for a moment before typing back, Not yet. Just keep this between us. I put the phone down and took a deep breath. I didn't know what was waiting ahead. But I knew one thing. Claire Turner didn't come to San Francisco just for work. Since the promotion party, I'd started noticing the little things in daily life, the things I used to overlook because of trust. Noah had been coming home late nearly every night. The usual reasons were documents to review, difficult client, or prepping for tomorrow's negotiation, all reasonable, if not for the avoiding eyes and the always face-down phone. We used to call each other every night no matter how tired we were, but lately Noah only sent a short message, Still in meetings, go ahead and sleep. It came so often I knew every punctuation mark. Weekends weren't better. He often had last-minute meetings or a few things at the office, and always went alone. I once suggested tagging along, maybe stopping by the bakery across the street, but he dismissed it unusually fast. Seriously, Emma, you don't want to deal with this client. It's intense. I nodded, staying quiet, but inside something was forming, a flickering instinct I couldn't ignore. That Wednesday I had lunch with Lisa at our usual salad spot on Battery Street. She was my college best friend and now worked in HR and Wet Like the Wind. Lisa set her tray down and looked at me carefully. You haven't been sleeping, have you? I gave a faint smile, cutting into the chicken breast. Probably just the deadlines. She said nothing, just watched me for a while before mixing her salad. But I knew she wasn't done. Emma, she finally said after a pause, do you want to know what people have been saying? I looked up, spoon frozen mid-air. About who? About Noah. And Claire Turner. That name landed on the table like a single drop hitting cold wood. I said nothing, just stared at Lisa. Nothing concrete, Lisa continued. But Claire's been showing up at meetings where she usually wouldn't be needed. And they always leave the office together. Probably just work, I heard my own voice. Light as a hollow excuse. Lisa tilted her head. Emma, you're not the type to get suspicious over nothing. But if someone like you starts feeling something's off, maybe something really is. I tightened my grip on the spoon. I don't have proof. You don't need proof to trust your gut. But if you want clarity, start small. Lisa placed a small slip of paper on the table. It had the email of someone in security. I'm not suggesting anything, but if you need confirmation, this person can give you office entry logs, keycard history, hallway camera access, all internal protocol, nothing illegal. I didn't respond right away. My heart pounded so hard it rang in my ears. After lunch, I returned to the office, still reeling. While tidying up my desk, I accidentally knocked an old USB from the drawer, one I used 2 years ago for campaign files. Suddenly a thought struck me. What if I saved everything I was feeling, each doubt, each clue, like a strategy plan, just like prepping for a major pitch, not to conclude but to see the full picture clearly. That night, Noah got home around 10. I was still in the living room pretending to read. He took off his coat and kissed my hair like always. Sorry, the meeting ran long. Was Claire there? I asked, eyes still on my screen. He paused slightly. Yeah, she presented the main contract section. I nodded. Did you eat? We grabbed something quick at the office. I smiled. Good, I'm heading up. As I climbed the stairs, my palms were damp with sweat. I never thought I'd need to verify whether my husband was telling the truth. But now, the only thing I knew for sure was I couldn't rely on memories alone. Saturday night, I sat alone in the living room, the soft light from the floor lamp casting quiet shadows on the wall. Noah had just texted that he was having dinner with a difficult client from New York. The message came at 6:32. Classic of his recent messages, brief, emotionless, and evasive of any specifics. I sat still, not replying, eyes locked on the phone like it was a sealed door. Part of me hesitated. I was never the sneaky type. In our 7 years together and 3 years of marriage, I had trusted him completely. But trust, once cracked, only needs a soft tap to shatter. A little after 10, Noah came home. He walked quietly through the living room, not realizing I was still awake. I watched from behind a cracked door. His shirt slightly wrinkled, hair a bit tousled, and on his collar, a faint smudge of wine-colored lipstick. I said nothing, I waited. He took longer than usual in the shower. When the water stopped, I walked into the bedroom where his phone was charging on the desk. The screen was still dark. I picked it up, hand slightly trembling. And then, a miracle. No passcode. He had never set one. Maybe because he thought I'd never look. But I did. The first message popped up right on the home screen. Claire Turner, are you home yet? I can still remember your cologne. I opened it. What I saw made my chest feel instantly hollow. An entire string of messages, going back weeks. What started as playful exchanges slowly turned into sweet talk and then into photos. Undeniable ones. Photos of Claire in a hotel room, wearing Noah's dress shirt. A message sent at 1 a.m. I hate having to share you, but I know you'll choose me eventually. Silently, I took screenshots of every message, every photo, every detail. I sent them to a private email and created an encrypted folder on the cloud. The call history showed it all too. 11:14 p.m., 12:27 a.m., 2:05 a.m., most of them on nights Noah said he was working late. I placed the phone back exactly where it was, adjusted the charger to match its original position. Then I walked into the bathroom and threw up everything left in my stomach. That night I lay motionless in bed, pretending to be fast asleep as Noah stepped out of the bathroom and slid under the covers beside me. He didn't hold me like he usually did. He didn't say goodnight. The next morning I left the house early, lying that I had an emergency meeting. But instead of going to the office, I went to a small coffee shop tucked away in Noe Valley, where Lisa once introduced me to a lawyer friend who specialized in high-asset divorces. The lawyer's name was Natalie Grant, around 40 with sharp eyes and a calm voice. I told her everything, my hand constantly spinning the coffee spoon. Natalie listened without interrupting, occasionally nodding. When I finished, she asked just one question. Emma, do you want to handle this cleanly or thoroughly? I looked up and met her eyes. Both, but I want to do it the right way. No drama, no noise, but clear enough that nothing can be denied. Natalie smiled. Got it. We'll start with the prenup. I nodded. We signed one. Noah insisted on it before the wedding. Perfect. Send me a copy as soon as you can, and from now on, anything you uncover, an email, a photo, even a timestamp, store it separately and securely. Don't act yet, you only get one chance to flip the table perfectly. I stepped out of the cafe with a strange feeling, not anger or heartbreak, but a sharp focus, like I was preparing for a major campaign. The final campaign I had to win, not for pride, not for revenge, but because I deserved better. And Noah was no longer part of that future. He was just a name on a file waiting to be signed, along with a list of evidence I would continue to build day by day. After meeting with Natalie, I switched into a new mode, absolute focus. I didn't cry, I didn't lash out. I didn't confront Noah or show even the slightest sign that I knew anything. Every morning, I still woke up on time, made coffee, got ready for work, and smiled at my husband as if nothing had changed. But everything had changed, he just hadn't realized it yet. At work, I remained flawlessly professional. I led the marketing team through the quarterly campaign, closed a major deal with a retail chain, and was even invited by the CEO to join a strategic expansion meeting for the Asian market. Meanwhile, Claire Turner became increasingly bold. She strutted through the halls like it was a runway, her pencil skirts growing shorter, her blouses sheer enough for the meeting room lights to reveal the outline of her undergarments. And Noah, my husband, no longer seemed interested in hiding anything. I caught them alone in a conference room, laughing like they were starring in their own private comedy. Once, walking past the legal department, I saw Claire leaning over Noah's desk, her hand resting on his, just long enough that most would overlook it. But I wasn't most people, I was documenting everything. I kept a small notebook in my desk drawer where I logged every time Claire entered Noah's office, every lunch break they disappeared together, every odd-timed internal email. I even hired a freelance IT assistant, someone who had worked with us during last year's security upgrade, to help me recover meeting logs Noah had accidentally deleted. Every piece of evidence, no matter how small, was saved in an encrypted cloud folder, with backup copies sent to Natalie. I also began using Claire's own provocations to build my case. She seemed to enjoy pushing limits. Last week, during the company-wide meeting, Claire walked past me holding a coffee and smiled. "Congrats on the new campaign, Emma," she said, her eyes sparkling with a hint of challenge. "I've heard Noah say you're incredibly talented. He talks about you all the time." I smiled, my expression unreadable. "Thanks. I'm really glad he's found someone he works well with. You two seem to have great synergy." Claire flinched slightly but quickly recovered. "You know, working with Noah is more interesting than I expected." I tilted my head, still smiling. "I bet, but be careful. The company has strict policies about unclear relationships in the workplace." Her smile tightened for a split second. Then she walked away, her heels clicking like a retreating chess move. Exactly as I predicted, overconfident too soon. I didn't need confrontation, I just needed time. An observation. They were getting careless. I caught messages flash across Noah's screen when he forgot to lock it. Things like, "I wish you were staying tonight," or "We can't keep hiding forever, can we?" Each message was a puzzle piece. And I was almost done building the picture. I sent the new materials to Natalie with a note. "We're getting close." She replied with one line. "Wait for the perfect moment to go public, don't rush." And then it arrived. An internal email went out company-wide. "Next week's annual gala will be held at the Fairmont Hotel. Attendance is mandatory for all management-level staff." I stared at the announcement, then slowly smiled. The gala where all eyes would be on the leadership, where reputations and personal images would be on full display. If they dared to go public there, then everything I'd prepared would be undeniable. And if they didn't, I still had enough evidence to force the board's hand. Either way, I would be in control. For the first time in months, I didn't feel helpless anymore. I was no longer the betrayed wife. I was the woman flipping the board, moved by calculated move, calm, smart, and not letting emotion cloud her reason. And what they didn't know was their overconfidence had handed me the key to the end. That night, the Fairmont Hotel sparkled like a scene out of a film. The grand hall was lined with red carpet, soft music floated from a live band in the corner, and the clinking of glasses mixed with laughter and congratulations painted the perfect picture of elite business society. I walked into it all wearing an emerald silk gown cinched at the waist, the train trailing behind each step. My hair was in a sleek updo, showing off my delicate neckline and slim shoulders, not to allure anyone but to remind myself. I wasn't here to react. I was here to end it. Heads turned as I entered, not just for how I looked, but because of the silence that had followed me these past weeks. Everyone had heard the rumors, but no one dared ask. And I smiled, politely nodded at each curious glance, and accepted a glass of champagne from a server. Across the room I saw Ava and the marketing team waving me over to their table, but before I could move, a small ripple stirred through the crowd. Heads turned in unison. Someone whispered Noah's name. I turned. He appeared exactly as I expected, dashing in a perfectly tailored black tuxedo, one hand resting lightly on Claire Turner's waist. Claire wore a silver gown with a daring slit, the kind not meant for corporate events. She smiled sweetly, her red lips catching the chandelier's light. They entered like a magazine cover couple, hand in hand, unapologetic. People whispered. I heard my name scattered among the murmurs, but I didn't care. Because I knew it was time for their true colors to show. Noah saw me. He paused for a moment. Then, as if to prove something, he leaned down and whispered into Claire's ear. She laughed, tilting her head back. And right there, in front of the entire company, executives, colleagues, and me, Noah kissed her. A long kiss, long enough for people to turn away in discomfort, bold enough to turn rumors into truth. I lifted my champagne glass and tilted it ever so slightly toward them. A faint smile brushed my lips. No trembling, no tears. Noah pulled back and looked at me. His expression faltered for a second. Maybe he expected me to turn away. Or to leave the room. or at least look shaken. But instead I raised my glass and gave a slight nod, as if thanking him for the gift he'd just delivered. I saw the color drain from his face, triumph slipping into uncertainty. Lisa stepped up beside me, her red dress as bold as the fire in her eyes. She leaned in and whispered, "You ready?" I set my glass on the nearest tray. More than ever. The loudspeaker announced the start of the awards ceremony. We moved into the auditorium. I took my seat among the senior leadership, a position arranged in advance, and part of the strategy I had carefully planned. Lisa sat beside me, while Noah and Claire were placed at a table near the very back. HR didn't assign seating at random. When my name was called for exceeding quarterly revenue targets, I stepped up to the stage, took the microphone and looked around the room. Every eye was on me. Even those two trying to pretend nothing had happened. I smiled and began my speech like a model executive. I thanked the team, the board, shared a few words about work ethic and innovation. Then I paused, my voice softened, my eyes never left Noah. I also want to thank the company for creating a transparent work environment where professional ethics are held to the highest standard. I believe that no matter what we do, integrity is non-negotiable. A few people glanced at each other. No one said a word, but I saw Noah tense up, his hands clenched on the table. Claire lowered her head, lips pressed tightly together. I ended with a line as light as air but heavy as a hammer. And sometimes all it takes is quiet observation for the truth to reveal itself. The room erupted in applause. I stepped down from the stage, head held high, heart lighter than it had felt in a long time. Because truthfully, the wound had already healed the moment I started planning. That night I left the gala in a private car, the night breeze brushing past my shoulder carrying a promise. Tomorrow, the game would change. Monday morning. The office air was unusually quiet, like the calm before a storm. I arrived earlier than usual, stepped into the elevator with a hot latte and a completely new mindset. The night before, after the gala, I had spent 3 hours at my home office, sitting in front of my laptop. I reviewed every single file one last time. Each message, every photo, voice recording, even the video of Noah and Claire kissing in the ballroom. Everything was carefully stored, clearly labeled, time-stamped, and geotagged. I opened the internal email system and drafted 3 separate messages. The first email went to Human Resources. Subject: Report of Workplace Conduct Violations. I attached all the evidence clearly outlining the violations, including the inappropriate relationship between an in-house attorney and an employee in the same department, actions that could lead to conflicts of interest, abuse of power, and a toxic work environment. The second email was addressed to the company's executive board. I used no emotional language. Every sentence was precise, like a professional report from a senior leader committed to the integrity and reputation of the organization. The third and most important went to the law firm where Noah held a senior attorney position. I clearly stated, their legal representative had breached ethical standards, damaging the image of both associated organizations. I signed with my official title, Emma Wells, Senior Marketing Director. Lastly, I opened the drawer and pulled out a dark blue folder stamped with Natalie's firm's logo. Inside was the divorce petition, meticulously prepared. The prenup Noah had insisted on before our wedding. He was the most confident person when signing it, but he hadn't read Clause 17.3 carefully. In the event that Party A, Noah Wells, breaches the obligation of fidelity and damages the reputation or professional standing of Party B, Emma Wells, in the workplace or professional community, all protections for Party A's individual assets will be rendered void. Natalie had chuckled when she read that clause. He set the trap and walked right into it. I looked at the clock, 7:59 a.m. I took a deep breath, moved the cursor to the Send All button. 8:0 all 3 emails sent simultaneously. 8:02, my phone began to buzz. A message from Lisa. The game just started. 8:15. I saw Noah walk into the office. His face was relaxed, likely still basking in the illusion of the gala. He didn't look toward me like he usually did. Claire followed a few steps behind, still wearing a smile. They barely had time to set their bags down before the intercom rang. HR summoned them both to the 12th floor. Moments later, the executive assistant, who rarely left the top floor, came down in person. Not long after, a representative from Noah's law firm showed up. Silver suit and a tense face said it all. I didn't move. I sat calmly in my office, opened the Q2 marketing strategy report and began reviewing timelines. 10:07, my phone rang. It was Natalie. Noah's side just received the divorce notice. They're asking for a private meeting before things go public. I took a sip of coffee. We'll go through the attorneys. I have nothing to say to him personally. Exactly. And one more thing, Natalie paused. They didn't expect you to have such comprehensive evidence. The gala video sealed it. I gave a soft laugh. No one should start a war without preparing the battlefield first. That afternoon, the office was buzzing. No one spoke loudly, but everyone knew. Noah had been placed on temporary leave pending an internal investigation. Claire was suspended immediately. As I left the office, the executive assistant gave me a small nod and a subtle smile. Driving out of the parking lot, the sun was dipping westward. Its golden light streamed across the windshield, as if to remind me. I didn't just survive betrayal. I walked away, head high, and into a whole new path. 3 weeks after the incident, the office atmosphere had shifted completely. The whispers had stopped. Instead, a respectful silence filled the room whenever I entered a meeting. No one asked me anything about Noah or Claire. They didn't need to. Everyone knew what had happened, and who had come out of the storm standing tall. Claire Turner's contract was officially terminated after a 5-hour internal hearing. The reason, stated in the internal memo, was a serious violation of professional ethics. HR didn't need to elaborate. The gala video said it all. The day Claire packed her things and left, I was in a meeting with a client on the upper floor. But Ava, my assistant, saw it. She later whispered it to me like sharing a secret. She wore a hat and sunglasses, but everyone knew. No one said a word. No one saw her off. I simply nodded, offering no comment. I didn't need satisfaction. I just needed to witness justice at work. As for Noah, he was placed on administrative leave during the investigation. The law firm initially tried to handle it quietly, hoping the issue would blow over. But they didn't know I had already sent a complete set of evidence to the California State Bar. Last week, Noah was terminated for serious ethical violations damaging the firm's image and client trust. I know he tried to reach out. The first message came 2 days after his dismissal. Hey, can we talk? This isn't how things were supposed to end. I didn't respond. The second message came a week later, this time from his personal email. I was wrong, I know, but you went too far. You destroyed my career. I deleted it without reading the rest. The last I heard of Noah was from Lisa. A friend of hers in San Diego spotted him working at a small law office on the outskirts, handling low-profile civil cases. He looked worn out, hair a mess, sitting in a cheap coffee shop flipping through case files like he was trying to remember who he used to be, Lisa said, voice a mix of pity and cool detachment. I felt nothing. No more pain, no more anger, just I had survived. And I had won. As for Claire, I ran into her by chance 2 weeks ago at a small diner in Oakland with Lisa. When I walked in, Claire was carrying a tray at the service counter. In a gray-black uniform and a restaurant logo apron, she was almost unrecognizable. Our eyes met for a second and I saw the flicker of embarrassment in hers. I said nothing. I didn't look away. I simply smiled, a soft smile, not smug, not mocking, just the smile of someone who had left it all behind. Claire turned quickly, avoiding eye contact. She never came near our table the rest of the evening. As we walked out, Lisa turned to me and asked, "How did it feel seeing her like that?" I shrugged. "Nothing special. Things happen as they should." Lisa laughed. "You really are a master." I just looked out at the golden lights lining the street, my heart finally still. My life now is peaceful in a way I never imagined. I moved into a new apartment in Pacific Heights. Spacious, airy, and free of old memories. I no longer check my phone in the middle of the night. No more forced smiles over false words. In the mornings I get up early, make my own coffee, listen to soft jazz, and head to the office wrapped in the quiet I never knew I needed. Sometimes I think maybe the thing that hurt me most was actually what led me to something far better. No need for revenge. No need for loud retaliation. Just take a step back, wait for the right moment, and let them get caught in the trap they set themselves. And I, as Lisa once said, just had to pull up a chair and watch the outcome. 3 months after Noah was officially removed from the company roster, I walked into the executive boardroom with a completely different mindset. For the first time in 10 years of working, I wasn't just a participant in a strategy meeting, I was the one leading it. That morning, the CEO invited me to the 24th floor, the floor usually reserved for those on the succession planning list. I thought it was about the brand expansion project into the Canadian market, but it wasn't. He handed me a black folder, smiled, and said, "We've been watching closely how you handled the recent crisis. Professional, measured, and above all with strength. We believe it's time to promote you to Chief Marketing Officer." I looked at the confirmation document in front of me. No need to think twice. "Thank you. I'm ready." And I truly was ready for a new chapter, with no shadows, no sweet lies, and no more glances hidden behind frosted glass. A few weeks later, I moved into a new apartment on the 18th floor of a glass tower overlooking the San Francisco Bay. It wasn't lavishly large, but it was minimalist, elegant, and so quiet that each morning, I could hear seagulls glide past the window. No more kitchen corner where I used to wait for Noah every night. No more bedroom filled with the feeling of betrayal. Everything here was new, including me. I bought a gray velvet armchair and placed it by the window, where every evening I sipped white wine, listened to my favorite playlist, and read. No rushing, no checking my phone for messages. Noah still texted, once a week, like clockwork, as if fulfilling some duty to his conscience. "I miss you. I know I was wrong. Can we start over?" I didn't reply, not out of bitterness, but because I had nothing left to say. He was the one who walked away while I was still believing in us. And now, no words could piece back what was already broken. "Once," he called. I saw his name flash on the screen, but I didn't answer. I just watched as the ringtone rang out 5 times and faded. Then I blocked the number, like closing a rotten door, with nothing left to hold on to. Lisa visited one late afternoon, bringing lemon tarts from my favorite bakery in Fillmore. She stepped inside, glanced around, and let out a whistle. "Emma, too, this apartment is the perfect upgrade." I laughed, handing her a glass of wine. "Exactly, the apartment, and the woman who lives in it." We sat by the window, watching the city light up. Lisa swirled her wine gently, her eyes softening after a quiet pause. "You know," she said, "I was scared you'd fall apart back then, but you didn't just get up. You walked away like you never fell." I went silent, not because of the compliment, but because I knew Lisa meant it. I had been at the bottom of every emotion, shame, hurt, self-doubt, but from that depth I learned how to rebuild, not through vengeance, but through growth. That night I posted a photo of my apartment window on Instagram, with the caption, "Living well is not revenge, it's freedom." Dozens of comments followed, colleagues, friends, even old acquaintances, all sent congratulations, but what touched me most was a message from my mother. "I'm proud of you. You've been strong in a way no one could have taught you." I smiled. It was true. No one teaches you how to survive betrayal, how to stand firm when your trust collapses. But I had learned, through experience. And now, sitting in my new apartment, taking the last sip of wine for the day, I realized the sweetest revenge isn't making someone else hurt. It's not hurting because of them anymore. Life isn't always fair, but how we face that unfairness defines our true worth. I once placed my trust in the wrong person, fell because of what I thought was unforgivable. But I chose to rise, to watch in silence and act when the time was right. The freedom, success, and peace I have now didn't come from revenge. They came from no longer letting the past control me. Living well is the strongest answer of all. What do you think of Emma's story and the decisions she made? Could you do the same in her situation? Share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to follow the channel for more powerful stories about family and life.